The Crimson Magic Village is under attack by the forces of the Demon Lord. Will Kazuma and company make things better, or will they make it a heck of a lot worse? Hello everybody, and welcome to another light novel review. I'm Justus R. Stone, and on this channel I cover all things light novels, reviews like this one, news. The Light Novel Podcast is posted here, as well as weekly countdowns of the most popular selling light novels in Japan. So if you love light novels, or maybe you're just starting to get interested in them, you should consider subscribing. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing volume number 5 of Natsume Akatsuki's light novel series, Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World. This one is released in English by Yen On. If you want to pick up your own copy, I've got links in the description down below. Now this volume is kind of notable because it is the first volume that we've had released in English that goes beyond what was covered in the anime. Now there are some rumors. There's a Konosuba, well this isn't a rumor, there is definitely a Konosuba theatrical film coming in 2019. Rumors though, there is some speculation that it might actually adapt this volume based on sort of the key imagery and some of the things that have been put out in the press in terms of what it is going to be about. Makes it sound very much like it might adapt this volume. So, you know, it might, I think that's probably a good thing because honestly, I really liked this volume. Now, spoilers for volume number 4 because, well, I can't even start where this book starts without talking about how volume 4 ended, because volume 4 ends on a big cliffhanger and leads directly into this book, sets the whole thing up. Volume 4, spoilers, ends with Yunyun, who is a fellow member of the Crimson Magic Clan, showing up on the doorstep of Kazuma and friends and saying to Kazuma that she wants to have his baby. And we're kind of like, duh? But as we find out, Yunyun has received a letter from the Crimson Magic Village, and, well, it's from her dad, and he's basically like, yeah, we're surrounded, the Dark Lord's forces are here, the Demon Lord's forces are here, and yeah, we're in a dire straits. I don't know if I'll ever talk to you again. This might be the last communication I ever have with you. And there's other stuff that goes on in the letter which explains the whole have my baby thing, and of course adds to the comedy of this series. Well, it takes some doing, but eventually Megumin is sort of like, you know what, I've got a family, my sister, my little sister, she's still in the village, like, can we at least go check it out and make sure that everybody's okay? So, after our road trip of last volume, our gang gathers together and decides to take another trip, and this time heading out to the Crimson Magic Village to see if they can help, but, well, as we all know, they'll probably just make things worse. Now, volume number 5 has a lot of the stuff that we've come to expect from Konosuba. A lot of slapsticky kind of comedy, a lot of sort of innuendo type comedy. I enjoyed that as they're traveling now, we're getting a little bit more world building. In this one, on their way to the Crimson Magic Village, we encounter at least 2 new types of monsters that we haven't discovered before, and they're actually quite funny. They lead to, you know, our usual sort of character pratfalls that we have had previously. And then, of course, we come to the Crimson Magic Village, and what's really funny is that, of course, this misfit gang that we have had for this series, you know, they've all got their quirks, but we suddenly realize as they enter into this village that maybe Megumin is pretty darn average for somebody. In fact, her abnormality is that she's not quite as abnormal as everybody else in the village, which, again, kind of is sort of the same idea that we had when we met Aqua's followers in the previous volume. It's kind of funny how, you know, we've had these characters, and in the starting city where everything has begun and been focused for the first 3 volumes, it seemed like most of the adventurers were fairly average, except for this gang that sort of clustered around Kazuma and Aqua. But as we're kind of exploring the rest of the world and meeting other people, we start realizing, man, like, maybe this whole world is actually really messed up. Maybe our gang of misfits aren't quite as abnormal as one would think, especially considering their origins. So we have, of course, that kind of comedy. We have the comedy of the usual, you know, coming into contact with the Demon Lord's forces and well, the unique ways that Kazuma and company deal with them. But this book also has something that's a little bit different, and that is that it actually starts really developing a relationship between Kazuma and Megumin in a much more mature way. And I don't mean mature like it gets all lewd and eishi. I mean, maybe it'll go that way eventually, I don't know. But in this one, not as much that. It's more just kind of actually showing that they can have a relationship with one another, that it's deepening their friendship. It's, I think, kind of hinting at potential future romance. I guess, you know, only future volumes will tell on that. But what I really liked about this aspect is that as that kind of gets wrapped up in all the other events going on in this village, we really have some significant character development of Megumin. She's always been the character that I've kind of thought, well, you know, of all of them, she seems to be kind of the most level-headed, aside from the whole obsessions with explosion. Otherwise, she seems to be the one who has somewhat of the most mature outlook at things and, you know, kind of can be a little bit more of the voice of reason in this party. And we really see that kind of developing in this volume, and she shows elements of maturity and growth and development as a character. And I know that maybe if you're checking into this series for the, you know, all the lols and nothing else, maybe you won't be as much into that. But I do like the fact that we can still have a book that honestly did make me laugh out loud still. I mean, Konosuba never fails to make me laugh, but still can have an element of growth of its characters. I liked that aspect of it. I liked seeing that the bonds and friendships and relationships of these characters can be more than just sort of a one-note kind of thing. Even though they still stay true to who they are, and even though it's not like, oh, well, I guess we've lost our, you know, chuckles of the explosions. I mean, even though it all kind of stays true to who the character is, it does show that development. And I liked that. I liked that Konosuba's showing that it can still do more than just shtick. It can do more than just jokes. It can do more than just, you know, slapstick and pratfalls and innuendo and everything else. So overall, you know, this was a really good volume. I found it very entertaining. I mean, Konosuba, obviously, like I said, I always find Konosuba entertaining. That's pretty much a given at this point. But I did kind of find that I really enjoyed a slightly different tone that some of the interactions in this book gave us. I also love how this novel has a major kind of thing that I won't spoil that harkens back to previous volumes. Like, I do enjoy how there are things that just keep coming up in this world. There are things that you kind of sit there and when you find out why things are the way they are, I mean, again, it adds to the comedy. And there's, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's this idea I have of that, you know, I guess what I was going to say is that you start getting this idea that even though this party seems at times inept, even though at times they just seem like a bunch of bumbling idiots, they are still accomplishing things. They are still making moves that are kind of changing the world. And when you sort of see subtexts in this book, you kind of get the idea that, gee, I wonder if Kazuma, having come to this world, having been reincarnated into this world, what effect is he going to have on this world? What is this world going to be like 100 years, 200 years down the road because of what Kazuma and his party have done? And I mean, that's just my thinking. I don't really know if the series is ever going to get heady enough to worry about that. but there are definitely some things in here that kind of made me think with my noodle and kind of wonder that kind of stuff. So overall, volume number 5 of Konosuba, another great volume, another really winning volume, and like I said, introduced a slightly more heartwarming tone that I still found that I really enjoyed. For my next review, I'm going to be reviewing actually a new book, and because I have gotten nowhere near caught up with all the new volume 1s that J-Novel has released over the past like 2 or 3 months. So I'm going to be reviewing volume number 1 of Kokoro Connect. This one, Hito Random. That's going to be my next review. About a bunch of people in a club that all of a sudden start switching bodies with one another, and all the sort of secrets and uncomfortable bits that brings about, and heck, maybe even a couple laughs too, we'll see. So if you love light novels or you're just starting to get interested in them, you should consider subscribing. I do weekly countdowns of the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan. I do reviews like this, news, and the Light Novel Podcast is posted here as well. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.